Hmm. All right, and in Nor Canadian, that means welcome, everybody.
You're welcome. At least I give you ammo.
Good morning, Lynn. Good morning, Gwen. Good morning, Landon. Good morning, Matt Wynn. Matt? It didn't rhyme with Lynn or Gwen, so I had to alter it. And I'm John. Fun. And howdy, everybody. Oh, wait. Sorry. Ooh, that was close, huh? Okay. How is everybody?
Me.
Matt first.
Good.
Very good.
I'm here, aren't I?
Muy excelente. Oh, look at that. I still get email notifications, though. All right. All righty. So, we're reading today. Scripture.
Oh, really?
So we're going to start in 2 Samuel chapter 19, go through 20, 21, 22, and 23. And it's very interesting today. If you think about it, we left off and David was weeping and totally forlorn because Absalom, his son, was dead. He was weeping and crying for Absalom. So I just want to remind everybody where we are in the storyline, the history line. So let's go ahead and pray in. Go. Good morning, Abba. Thank you, Father, for this weekly gathering that you've given us. We're very grateful to have each other and you in our midst, and we thank you for that. Thank you for showing us what's here in the writings that you've given us and you will be giving us. And we are grateful that we are looking at the history that was a shadow of things that are coming, and we're enthralled with learning as we dig into this. We ask your blessings for safe travels today for those who are traveling, and we also request that you give everyone here understanding and knowledge to share with people when they come away with this, and bless them as we bless you here and now and in the future. And we thank you for that in Jesus Yeshua's name. Amen.
Amen.
Okay, so we got GR, howdy, Sky, howdy, Alvina, hello there, howdy, and Ren. Anyone else sneaking in there? Nope.
Alaya redeemed.
Are we doing what?
Alaya redeemed.
Allie.
Is it?
Howdy. Okay, here we go. Hold on to your horses. That's the theme for the day, apparently. So 2 Samuel chapter 19. And it was told Joab, behold, the king weepeth and mourneth for Absalom. And the victory that day was turned into mourning unto all the people. For the people heard say that day how the king was grieved for his son. And the people gat them by stealth that day into the city, as people being ashamed steal away when they flee in battle. But the king covered his face and cried with a loud voice, O my son Absalom, O Absalom, my son, my son. And Joab came into the house to the king and said, Thou hast shamed this day the faces of all thy servants, which this day have saved thy life and the lives of thy sons and of thy daughters and of the lives of thy wives and the lives of thy concubines, in that thou lovest thine enemies and hatest thy friends. For thou hast declared this day that thou regardest neither princes nor servants. For this day I perceive that if Absalom had lived and all we had died this day, then it had pleased thee well. Now therefore arise, go forth, and speak comfortably unto thy servants. For I swear by the Lord, if thou go not forth, there will not tarry one with thee this night. And that will be worse unto thee than all the evil that befell thee from thy youth until now. Then the king arose and sat in the gate. And they told unto all the people, saying, Behold, the king doth sit in the gate. And all the people came before the king, for Israel had fled, every man to his tent. And all the people were at strife throughout all the tribes of Israel, saying, The king saved us out of the hand of our enemies, and he delivered us out of the hand of the Philistines. And now he has fled out of the land for Absalom. And Absalom, whom we anointed over us, is dead in battle. Now therefore, why speak ye not a word of bringing the king back? Verse 11. And King David sent to Zadok and to Abiathar the priests, saying, Speak unto the elders of Judah, saying, Why are ye the last to bring the king back to his house, seeing the speech of all Israel is come to the king, even to his house? Ye are my brethren, ye are my bones and my flesh. Wherefore then are ye the last to bring back the king? And say ye to Amasa, Art thou not of my bone and of my flesh? God, do so to me and more also, if thou be not captain of the host before me continually in the room of Joab. And he bowed the heart of all the men of Judah, even as the heart of one man, so that they sent this word unto the king, Return thou and all thy servants. So the king returned and came to Jordan, and Judah came to Gilgal to go to meet the king, to conduct the king over Jordan. And Shimei, the son of Gera, a Benjamite, which was of Bahurim, hasted and came down with the men of Judah to meet King David. And there were 1,000 men of Benjamin with him, and Ziba, the servant of the house of Saul, and his 15 sons and his 20 servants with him. And they went over Jordan before the king. And there went over a ferry boat to carry over the king's household and to do what he thought good. And Shimei, the son of Gera, fell down before the king as he was come over Jordan, and said unto the king, Let not my lord impute iniquity unto me, neither do thou remember that which thy servant did perversely the day that my lord the king went out of Jerusalem, that the king should take it to his heart. For thy servant doth know that I have sinned. Therefore, behold, I am come the first this day of all the house of Joseph, to go down to meet my lord the king. But Abishai, the son of Zeruiah, answered and said, Shall not Shimei be put to death for this, because he cursed the Lord's anointed? Verse 22. And David said, What have I to do with you, ye sons of Zeruiah, that ye should this day be adversaries unto me? Shall there any man be put to death this day in Israel? For do not I know that I am this day king over Israel? Therefore the king said unto Shimei, Thou shalt not die. And the king sware unto him. And Mephibosheth, the son of Saul, came down to meet the king, and had neither dressed his feet, nor trimmed his beard, nor washed his clothes, from the day the king departed until the day he came again in peace. And it came to pass, when he was come to Jerusalem to meet the king, that the king said unto him, Wherefore wentest thou not with me, Mephibosheth? And he answered, My lord, O king, my servant deceived me. For thy servant said, I will saddle me an ass, that I may ride thereon and go to the king, because thy servant is lame. And he hath slandered thy servant unto my lord the king. But my lord the king is as an angel of God. Do therefore what is good in thine eyes. For all of my father's house were but dead men before my lord the king. Yet didst thou set thy servant among them that did eat at thine own table. What right therefore have I yet to cry any more unto the king? And the king said unto him, Why speakest thou any more of thy matters? I have said, Thou and Ziba divide the land. And Mephibosheth said unto the king, Yea, let him take all, forasmuch as my lord the king is come again in peace unto his own house. And Barzillai the Gileadite came down from Rogelim and went over Jordan with the king to conduct him over Jordan. Verse 32. Now Barzillai was a very aged man, even 80 years old, and he had provided the king of sustenance while he lay at Mahanaim, for he was a very great man. And the king said unto Barzillai, Come thou over with me, and I will feed thee with me in Jerusalem. And Barzillai said unto the king, How long have I to live that I should go up with the king up to Jerusalem? I am this day fourscore years old, and I can discern between good and evil. And can I discern between good and evil? Can thy servant taste what I eat or what I drink? Can I hear any more the voice of singing men and singing women? Wherefore then should thy servant be yet a burden unto my lord the king? Thy servant will go a little way over Jordan with the king, and why should the king recompense it me with such a reward? Let thy servant, I pray thee, turn back again, that I may die in mine own city and be buried by the grave of my father and of my mother. But behold, thy servant Chimham, let him go over with my lord the king, and do to him what shall seem good unto thee. And the king answered, Chimham shall go over with me, and I will do to him that which shall seem good unto thee. And whatsoever thou shalt require of me, that will I do for thee. And all the people went over Jordan. And when the king was come over, the king kissed Barzillai and blessed him, and he returned unto his own place. Then the king went on to Gilgal, and Chimham went on with him, and all the people of Judah conducted the king, and also half the people of Israel. And behold, all the men of Israel came to the king and said unto the king, Why have our brethren, the men of Judah, stolen thee away, and have brought the king and his household, and all David's men with him over Jordan? Verse 42. And all the men of Judah answered the men of Israel, Because the king is near of kin to us. Wherefore then be ye angry for this matter? Have we eaten at all of the king's cost, or hath he given us any gift? And the men of Israel answered the men of Judah and said, We have 10 parts in the king, and we have also more right in David than ye. Why then did you despise us, that our advice should not be first in bringing back our king? And the words of the men of Judah were fiercer than the words of the men of Israel.
Chapter 20. And there happened to be there a man of Belial, whose name was Sheba, the son of Bichri, and a Benjamite. And he blew a trumpet and said, We have no part in David, neither have we inheritance in the son of Jesse. Every man to his tents, O Israel. So every man of Israel went up from David and followed Sheba the son of Bichri. But the men of Judah clave unto their king from Jordan even to Jerusalem. And David came to his house at Jerusalem, and the king took the 10 women, his concubines, who he had left to keep the house, and put them in ward, and fed them, but went not unto them. So they were shut up into the day of their death, living in widowhood. Then said the king of Amasa, Assemble me the men of Judah within 3 days, and be thou here present. So Amasa went to assemble the men of Judah, and he tarried longer than the set time which he had appointed him. And David said to Abishai, Now shall Sheba the son of Bichri do more harm than did Absalom. Take thou thy Lord's servants and pursue after him, lest he get him fenced cities and escape us. And there went out after him Joab and the Chetherites and the Pelethites and the mighty men, and they went out of Jerusalem to pursue after Sheba the son of Bichri. When they were at the great stone which is in Gibeon, Amasa went before them. And Joab's garment that he had put on was girded unto him, and upon it a girdle with sword fastened upon his loins in the sheath thereof. And as he went forth, it fell out. And Joab said to Amasa, Art thou in health, my brother? And Joab took by the beard with the right hand to kiss him. But Amasa took no heed to the sword that was in Joab's hand. So he smote him wherewith in the 5th rib, and shed out his bowels to the ground, and struck him not again, and he died. So Joab and Abishai his brother pursued after Sheba the son of Bichri. 11. And one of Joab's men stood by him and said, He that favoreth Joab, and he that is for David, let him go after Joab. And Amasa wallowed in blood in the midst of the highway. And when the man saw that all the people stood still, he removed Amasa out of the highway into the field, and cast a cloth upon him, when he saw that every one that came by him stood still. When he was removed out of the highway, all the people went after Joab to pursue after Sheba the son of Bichri. And he went through all the tribes of Israel unto Abel and to Beth-maachah, and all the Berites, and they were gathered together and went also after him. And they came and besieged him in Abel of Beth-maachah, and they cast up a bank against the city, and it stood in the trench, and all the people that were with Joab battered the wall to throw it down. Then cried a wise woman out of the city, Hear, hear, say, I pray unto you, Joab, come here hither, that I may speak with thee. And when he came near unto her, the woman said, Art thou Joab? And he answered, I am he. Then she said unto him, Hear the words of thine handmaid. And he answered, I do hear. 18. And then she spoke, saying, There were wont to speak of old times, saying, They shall surely ask counsel at Abel. And so they ended the matter. I am one of them that are peaceable and faithful in Israel. Thou seekest to destroy a city and a mother in Israel. Why wilt thou swallow up the inheritance of the Lord? And Joab answered and said, far be it from me that I should swallow up or destroy. The matter is not so, but a man of Mount Ephraim, Sheba, the son of Bichri by name, hath lifted up his hand against the king, even against David. Deliver him only, and I will depart from the city. And the woman said unto Joab, Behold, his head shall be thrown to thee over the wall. Then the woman went unto all the people in her wisdom, and they cut off the head of Sheba, the son of Bichri, and cast it out to Joab. And he blew a trumpet, and they retired from the city, every man to his tent. And Joab returned to Jerusalem unto the king. Now Joab was over all the host of Israel, and Benaiah the son of Jehoiada was over the Cherethites and over the Pelethites. And Adoram was over the tribute, and Jehoshaphat the son of Ahilud was recorder. And Sheva was scribe, and Zadok and Abiathar were the priests, and Ira also the Jairite was a chief ruler about David. Ooh.
Chapter 21. Then there was a famine in the days of David 3 years, year after year, and David inquired of Yahuwah. And Yahuwah answered, It is for Saul and for his bloody house, because he slew the Gibeonites. And the king called the Gibeonites and said unto them, Now the Gibeonites were not of the children of Israel, but of the remnant of the Amorites. And the children of Israel had sworn unto them. And Saul sought to slay them in his zeal to the children of Israel and Judah. Wherefore David said unto the Gibeonites, What shall I do for you? And wherewith shall I make an atonement, that ye may bless the inheritance of Yahuwah? And the Gibeonites said unto him, We will have no silver nor gold of Saul, nor of his house. Neither for us shalt thou kill any man in Israel. And he said, What ye shall say that I shall do for you? And they answered the king, The man that consumed us, and that devised against us, that we should be destroyed from the remaining in any of the coasts of Israel. Let 7 men of his sons be delivered unto us, and we will hang them up unto Yahuwah in Geba of Saul, whom Yahuwah did choose. And the king said, I will give them. But the king spared Mephibosheth, the son of Jonathan, and the son of Saul, because of Yahuwah's oath that was between them, between David and Jonathan, the son of Saul. But the king took the 2 sons of Rizpah, the daughter of Aiah, whom she bare unto Saul, Armoni and Mishboleth, and the 5 sons of Michal, the daughter of Saul, Michal, the daughter of Saul, whom she brought up from Adriel, the son of Barzillai, the Mitholite. And he delivered them unto the hands of the Gibeonites, and they hanged them in the hill before Yahuwah. And they fell all 7 together, and were put to death in the days of harvest, in the first days, in the beginning of the barley harvest. And Rizpah, the daughter of Aiah, took sackcloth, and spread it for her upon the rock, from the beginning of the harvest until the water dropped upon them out of heaven, and suffered neither the birds of the air to rest on them by day, nor the beast of the field by night. And it was told David what Rizpah, the daughter of Aiah, the concubine of Saul, had done. And David, verse 12, and David went and took the bones of Saul, and the bones of Jonathan his son from the men of Jebsheth Gilead, which had stolen them from the street of Bethshan, where the Philistines had hanged them, when the Philistines had slain Saul in Gilboa. And he brought up thence the bones of Saul and the bones of Jonathan his son, and they gathered the bones of them that were hanged. And the bones of Saul and Jonathan his son buried they in the country of Benjamin in Zelah, in the sepulchre of Kish his father, and they performed all that the king commanded. And after that, God was entreated for the land. Verse 15, moreover, the Philistines had yet war again with Israel, and David went down and his servants with him, and fought against the Philistines. And David waxed faint. And Ishbenibob, which was of the sons of the giant, the weight of whose spear weighed 300 shekels of brass in weight, he being girded with a new sword, thought to have slain David. But Abishai, the son of Zeruiah, scourged him and smote the Philistine and killed him. Then the men of David sware unto him, saying, Thou shalt go no more out with us to battle, that thou quenched not the light of Israel. And it came to pass after this, that there was again a battle with the Philistines at Gob. Then Sibkai the Hushathite slew Seph, which was of the sons of the giant. And there was again a battle in Gob with the Philistines, where Elphalan, the son of Jeroham, a Bethlehemite, slew the brother of Goliath, the Gittite, the staff of whose spear was like a weaver's beam. Holy. And there was yet a battle in Gath, where was a man of great stature, that had on every hand 6 fingers, and on every foot 6 toes, 24 in number, and he also was born to the giant. And when he defied Israel, Jonathan, the son of Shema, the brother of David, slew him. These 4 were born to the giant of Gath, and fell by the hand of David, and by the hand of his servants.
"22. And David spoke to the Lord the words of this song on the day when the Lord delivered him from the hand of all his enemies, and from the hand of Saul. He said, The Lord is my rock and my fortress, and my deliverer, my God, my rock, in whom I take refuge, my shield and the horn of my salvation, my stronghold and my refuge. My Savior, you save me from violence. I call upon the Lord, who is worthy to be praised, and I am saved from my enemies. For the waves of death encompassed me. The torrents of destruction assailed me. The cords of Sheol entangled me. The snares of death confronted me. In my distress, I called upon the Lord. To my God I called. From his temple, he heard my voice, and my cry came to his ears. Then the earth reeled and rocked. The foundations of the heavens trembled and quaked, because he was angry. Smoke went up from his nostrils, and devouring fire from his mouth. Glowing coals flamed forth from him. He bowed the heavens and came down. Thick darkness was under his feet. He rode on a cherub and flew. He was seen on the wings of the wind. He made darkness around him his canopy, thick clouds a gathering of water. Out of the brightness before him, coals of fire flamed forth. The Lord thundered from heaven, and the Most High uttered his voice. And he sent out arrows and scattered them, lightning and routed them. Then the channels of the sea were seen. The foundations of the world were laid bare. At the rebuke of the Lord, at the blast of the breath of his nostrils, he sent from on high. He took me. He drew me out of many waters. He rescued me from my strong enemy, from those who hated me, for they were too mighty for me. They confronted me in the day of my calamity, but the Lord was my support. He brought me out into a broad place. He rescued me because he delighted in me. The Lord dealt with me according to my righteousness, according to the cleanness of my hands. He rewarded me. For I have kept the ways of the Lord and have not wickedly departed from my God. For all his rules were before me, and from his statutes I did not turn aside. I was blameless before him, and I kept myself from guilt. And the Lord was rewarded, and the Lord has rewarded me according to my righteousness, according to my cleanness in his sight. With the merciful, you show yourself merciful. With the blameless man, you show yourself blameless. With the purified, you deal purely. And with the crooked, you make yourself seem torturous. You save a humble people, but your eyes are on the haughty to bring them down. For you are my lamp, O Lord, and my God lightens my darkness. For by you I can run against a troop, and by my God I can leap over a wall. This God, his way is perfect. The word of the Lord proves true. He is a shield for all those who take refuge in him. For who is God but the Lord? And who is a rock except our God? This God is my strong refuge and has made my way blameless. He made my feet like the feet of a deer and set me secure on the heights. He trains my hands for war, and that my arms can bend a bow of bronze. You have given me the shield of your salvation, and your gentleness made me great. You gave a wide place for my steps under me, and my feet did not slip. I pursued my enemies and destroyed them, and did not turn back until they were consumed. I consumed them, I thrust them through, so that they did not rise. They fell under my feet. For you equipped me with strength for the battle. You made those who rise against me sink under me. You made my enemies turn their backs to me, those who hated me, and I destroyed them. They looked, but there was none to save. They cried to the Lord, but he did not answer them. I beat them fine as dust, as the dust of the earth. I crushed them and stamped them down like the mire in the streets. You delivered me from strife with my people. You kept me as the head of the nations. People whom I had not known served me. Foreigners came cringing to me. As soon as they heard of me, they obeyed me. Foreigners lost heart and came trembling out of their fortresses. The Lord lives, and blessed be my rock, and exalted be my God, the rock of my salvation. The God who gave me vengeance and brought down people under me, who brought me out from my enemies. You exalted me above those who rose against me. You delivered me from men of violence. For this I will praise you, O Lord, among the nations, and sing praises to your name. Great salvation he brings to his king, and shows steadfast love to his anointed, to David and his offspring forever.
Chapter 23. Now, these are the last words of David. David, the son of Jesse, declares, the man who is raised on high declares, the anointed of the God of Jacob, and the sweet psalmist of Israel. The Spirit of the Lord spoke by me, and his word was on my tongue. The God of Israel said, the Rock of Israel spoke to me. He who rules over men righteously, who rules in the fear of God, is as the light of the morning when the sun rises, a morning without clouds, when the tender grass springs out of the earth, through sunshine after rain. Truly, is not my house so with God? For he has made an everlasting covenant with me. ordered in all things and secured. For all my salvation and all my desire, will he not indeed make it grow? But the worthless, every one of them, will be thrust away like thorns, because they cannot be taken in hand. But the man who touches them must be armed with iron and the shaft of a spear, and they will be completely burned with fire in their place. These are the names of the mighty men whom David had: Josheb-Basshebeth, Techameliite, chief of the captains. He was called Adino the Eznite, because of the 800 slain by him at one time. And after him was Eleazar, the son of Dodo the Ahonite, one of the three mighty men with David when they defiled the Philistines, who were gathered there to battle, and the men of Israel had withdrawn. He arose and struck the Philistines until his hand was weary and clung to the sword. And the Lord brought about a great victory that day, and the people returned after him only to strip the slain. Now after him was Shammah, the son of Agi the Herite, and the Philistines were gathered into a troop, where there was a plot of the ground full in lentils, and the people fled from the Philistines. But he took his stand in the midst of the plot, defended it, and struck the Philistines, and the Lord brought about a great victory. Then there was the 30 chief men went down and came to David in the harvest time to the cave of Adullam. While the troop of the Philistines was camping in the valley of Rephaim, David was then in the stronghold, while the garrison of the Philistines was then in Bethlehem. David had a craving and said, "Oh, that someone would give me water to drink from the well in Bethlehem, which is by the gate." So the three mighty men broke through the camp of the Philistines and drew water from the well of Bethlehem, which was by the gate, and took it and brought it to David. Nevertheless, he would not drink it, but poured it out to the Lord. And he said, "Be it far from me, O Lord, that I should do this. Shall I drink the blood of men who went in jeopardy of their lives?" Therefore he would not drink it. These things the three mighty men did. Abishai, the brother of Joab, the son of Zeruiah, was chief of the 30, and he swung his spear against 300 and killed them, and had a name as well as the three. He was most honored of the 30, therefore he became the commander. However, he did not attain to the three. Then Benai, the son of Jehoiada, the son of the valiant man of Kabzeel, who had done mighty deeds, killed the two sons of Ariel of Moab. He also went down and killed a lion in the middle of a pit on a snowy day. He killed an Egyptian, an impressive man. Now the Egyptian had a spear in his hand, but he went down to him with a club and snatched the spear from the Egyptian's hand and killed him with his own spear. These things Benai, the son of Jehoiada, did, and had a name as well as the three mighty men. He was honored among the 30, but he did not attain to the three, and David appointed him over his guard. Ashel, the brother of Joab, was among the 30. Elhanan, the son of Dodo of Bethlehem, Shammah the Harodite, Elika the Harodite, Helez the Paltite, Ira the son of Ikish the Techite, Abizur the Ethanite, Mabani the Hushite, Zalman the Ahoite, Mahariah the Nephthite, Helab the son of Bana the Nephalite, Eta the son of Reba of Gibeah, the sons of Benjamin, Bina the Parathite, Hidia of the brooks of Gash, Abibalon the Arabite, Asmath the Berhunite, Eliaba the Shubbanite, the sons of Jashan, Jonathan, Shema, and the Herite, Aham the son of Sherar the Arite, Eliaphilet the son of Ahishaba, the son of Machonite, Eliam, the son of Ahithophel, the Gilonite, Hezro, the Carmenite, Periah, the Arbite, Eagle, the son of Nathan of Zobah, Bani, the Gadite, Zelek, the Ammonite, Nahara, the Betherite, armor bearers of Joab, the sons of Zeriah, Ira, the Ithrite, Gareb, the Ithrite, and Uriah, the Hittite, 37 in all. Oh,
You get the names again.
Wow. Okay, let's go back to chapter 19, 2 Samuel chapter 19. Okay. Does anybody else have 2 pages of notes on this? Don't feed me that. Hold on. Just give me 1 second here, please. Just 1 second in that. Okay. Let's see here. Okay, what were we going to say, Glenn?
I'm out, actually. Thank you for reading with us.
Okay, fine. Whatever, man.
I love you all.
Thank you for reading, Glenn.
Thank you
Love you,
for
bye.
having
Thank you,
me.
Ryan.
Bless you guys.
Did anyone else
She didn't
smell
even
her
stay for the
breath?
fun part.
That, okay, what?
That she didn't even stay for the fun part.
I know. All right.
Do we still get to skip around, or do we have to do it in order now?
Yeah, we have to do it in order since Glenn's gone now.
Well, at least
Okay,
it's going
so-
way faster now.
I know. I doubt it. I took so many notes today that
There's a lot.
19:5 is the first thing I have. So if you got something before that,
How'd you take notes when you were reading it?
I study ahead because I
Mm.
want to graduate. That verse 5, Joab rebukes David. He's like, I don't care if you're the king. You are being a duty head. And it's a harsh rebuke, too. I mean, he's like, you're sitting here crying for someone who tried to wrench the kingdom out of your hands and would have killed you. And good men died today, and you're sitting here crying about him. I think he was like that close to drawing down on David.
Sounds like it.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't have anything until 9 and 10. But if you got something else, commentary. I mean, in this chapter. Yeah. Okay, so 9 and 10, David's reaching out, right? Because remember, all Israel backed Absalom
Mhm.
and anointed him king. And now David's reaching out with that olive branch, that proverbial olive branch, saying, hey, that's right, Ren. We do all need friends like Joab that rebuke us.
Mhm.
What? Oh, so now you're a chat lurker like that, is it? Okay. All right. So he's reaching out that branch of peace. Well, in 11 and 14, actually. I'm sorry, what was that? Don't shake your dog collar at me.
Please.
Yeah. Okay, anything after that? Oh, wait, I can flip a page. Here we go. I don't have anything until verse 22. After that.
I can get a lot of notes.
I didn't either for 19.
Okay. I find this interesting because who is it? Shimei comes out, first person out of the rest of Israel, and falls down and says, "Forgive me, King, for basically forgive me for backing Absalom."
Mm-hmm.
Right, but then the other dude, who is it? Abishai,
Oh.
right? Says, let's put him to death. Let's put Shimei to death. David's like, nobody's going to be put to death today. Everybody here knows that I'm king over Israel, so why we got to start killing people? Now remember, he's a man after God's own heart. And this is also a shadow of things to come.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So what do we got here with what we got there? We got people that want war, they want to execute vengeance upon people. And I mean, we can kind of hear that now, right?
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Certain things. You know? They ought to put all those hoot heads to death. Well, they don't say hoot heads. That's my word. I don't know. I just found that interesting. And then I don't have anything until 41, 43.
What's the deal with Mephibosheth? And them just being like, you know what? I'm just gonna be dirty until the king gets back.
Oh, hold on. Isn't that the next chapter? Or is that this one?
No, that's this one.
That's that one.
Oh, okay. I don't know. That's interesting, though, huh?
Man, to show my loyalty to the king, I'm just gonna disregard hygiene and proper grooming.
Right.
Team David.
Now, is he
But
the,
he was the lame one. So if all the people in his household left, then who's going to help him do that? Do those things? You know what I
Right.
mean?
Yeah.
well, he's only lame at his feet, though.
Right. You can crawl on your knees.
Right. Yeah, he could have crawled to the brook and walked
Yeah.
up a little bit.
Yeah, laid in there and crawl back out. Yeah, true.
Excuse me, can you pass me the soap? Don't stare at my feet, though. I'm a little bit self-conscious.
But still, it sounds kind of like he was mourning. To me, I mean,
Yep.
don't we kind of get like that when we're really sad? We just we don't do anything for ourselves, and
Oh, yeah?
Maybe not to that extreme. Well, I don't know how long he was gone, so I'm imagining.
he's probably pretty ripe.
Weirdly.
Right. Well, I'm under the impression this only took a few months
Still,
still. Right?
the soup would be very cooked. Yeah.
Why are all those fish floating downstream? Okay, that. So in 41 through 43, we see this tension starting to build between Judah and the rest of Israel. Right? So remember, We're in 2 more kings is when the kingdom gets torn in half
Mm-hmm.
or torn apart. It's not exactly in half. So just, I want to point that out to everyone. Pay attention to that. Okay, so 2 Samuel 20. What was it? So we still not quite there, Alvina. Hold your horses. Okay, 20. 1 and 2. We even have Sheba, right, son of Bichri. He's like kind of sending up a trial balloon for dividing the kingdom here, right?
Mhm.
So we got this, but David returns. Verse 3, we see he doesn't ever touch those 10 concubines again that Absalom laid with.
Mm-hmm.
And it says they died as widows. I don't know, I just found that interesting.
Yeah, why do you suppose he did that? I mean,
And then there's more interestingness on this a little later too.
It wasn't in some like ancient cultures though, like it was a great honor to be a concubine.
Great honor to what?
To be like a concubine, but then like they were provided for, but then it was like I remember reading somewhere like it's kind of after the king was not interested anymore, they kind of lived almost like widowhood in their big provided for house with the other concubine.
Right.
And it's
It's interesting because if you look up a lot of the places where it has wife, and a lot of the places where it has woman, and a lot of the places where it has concubine, it's the same word.
Mm.
So
Mhm.
a lot of those places, it's just some translator saying, you know what, we've used the word wife too many times, so let's throw in concubine here.
Hmm.
Or because it's someone that their name isn't mentioned, so they must not be a wife, they must just be a lesser wife, so they're a concubine.
Hmm.
See our study series on a life of repentance and marriage.
Well, doesn't widowhood mean that the husband's dead?
Yes, and Absalom was dead.
Yeah. Interesting.
but he still honored him by not I don't know, I would see that as a an act of mercy on the women that
Interesting. Allie, so is that a shadow of the 5 foolish virgins to come in the future? 5 had oil in their lamps and 5 didn't. See, it didn't need the organ. Dun dun dun. Okay.
It doesn't really differentiate between these 10 though in that passage, like it does with the 5 foolish and the 5 wise.
No, it doesn't. No, and he the one that left him there.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, you know what? I'll leave these 10 concubines. You, and you. You stay behind. Let's see. So, verse 6, David sends Joab after Sheba. Go get him. Sick him. And what is that? I didn't take any notes on that. But who was Amasa? I don't remember anything about him.
Where's that at?
Or not Amasa. Sorry. No, it is. It is Amasa. That, and why is there something between him and Joab?
I don't know.
'Cause I don't have any notes on him that I recall.
I was just gonna say I looked up the Cherethites and the Pelethites, because then but the Cherethites were his specifically they were private guard, but mercenary soldiers, but executioners. And the Pelethites were it says couriers.
Interesting.
But
Very interesting.
Well, it says he didn't keep the timing that David set up.
Okay.
So it makes me wonder if that's why they killed him.
Interesting.
You know, it says, then the king said to Amasa, call out the men of Judah for me within 3 days and be present here yourself. So Amasa went to call out the men of Judah, but he delayed longer than the set time with which they had appointed him.
Okay. I can see that now.
he was the general of the army of Absalom, according to Strong. And his name means burden.
Means verdict?
Burden.
Oh, bird. Now, what about verses 16 through 21? He's hunting Sheba down. This old lady starts yelling over the wall.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. So she was like pretty important in her community.
Right. I would think so. And go ahead.
I was gonna say, or was she just like that little old lady that's always at the window?
The nosy neighbor.
Right.
Well, it
You
says
know,
she's
everything's going
wise.
on in the hood. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, it says she's wise. Yeah. Well, she definitely was wise enough to see what was going down.
Mhm.
Mhm.
So it is interesting, though, because we do see this. There is a respect for elderly people that's commonly held.
Mhm.
Right, because even Joab, as ambitious as he is, and kind of brutal as he is, he doesn't want to be seen as just mowing over some old lady and then killing the whole city to get this one guy. But then the other side of that old lady, too, she's smart enough to know that they got to do something pretty brutal to prevent their city from being torn down.
Mhm.
Hmm.
Gladys Kravitz. That's right, Sky. And
That's
then,
right, Rin.
I'm sorry?
I said, that's right, Rin.
And then verses 23 and 26 just kind of names the commanders over Israel, their positions. right? And then what was that you just said? So Joab's basically general over all the armies.
Joab was. Oh wait, you talking to me?
Right? Then Benaiah and Jehoiada over the Kerethites, and they were what? Like the king's guard?
All right. So the C8, they were the executioner. It said hired mercenary. I clicked off of it, and the Perethites, if I'm saying that correctly, were his couriers, but also a private security force. But
Okay.
is it courier like the? I don't know if David didn't ride on like one of them things. Maybe messengers. I don't know.
I think messages, right? Carry a letter sealed with the king, or with the king's seal on it, type thing.
I wouldn't think Sheba would be a popular name in Judah, but he was the secretary.
Okay.
It's 25.
21 verse 2. We're almost there. Alvina, almost. We're getting there. Okay, so 21 verse 2. I just highlighted that because it tells us that the Gibeonites are from Amor, they're the remnants of the Amorites.
Yep, and then David does the right thing and he does restoration.
Right. It says the children of Israel had sworn unto them, right?
Mhm.
Basically, yeah, you can be our servants. But then Saul sought to kill them, breaking that treaty.
Mm-hmm. And it's interesting that he sends the famine after Saul's dead, to David.
Yep. And yet David keeps his vow. And then I'd forgotten about that. Remember when David was on the run, Saul took Michal, and gave her to some other dude.
Mm-hmm.
And it says in verse 8, was it killed 5 of her sons as part of this number? I think, yeah, the 5 sons of Michal, the daughter of Saul. And she brought up for Adriel, the son of Barzillai, the Maholathite. Maholathite.
Oh. So the offspring from that got killed.
Yep.
Because it was wrong anyway.
Now, it's interesting, kind of, too, because David chooses them, and if you go back and look at, say, the history of, like, England, right? You'll have someone a couple of days later, oh, well, I'm descended from so-and-so, who was of the king of this house. So therefore, I'm the rightful ruler of the throne. So it's kind of interesting because David's kind of like nipping that in the bud. That at some point in the future, they aren't going to be able to stand up and say, we were of the house of Saul, so we are the rightful rulers. I don't know, just one of those things.
Which wife? We read a few chapters back. They got mad about David dancing.
That's her.
But so she had a different baby daddy, and then married David later.
Yep. Well, no. She was married. She was given to David because he brought. Right. Saul said, "I'll give my daughter to whoever brings me 100 foreskins of Philistines."
Mm.
So David and his buddy brought 200 foreskins. So he got the princess. And then Saul lost his anointing and said, okay, everybody needs to kill David. And he took her back and gave her to someone else. King Saul took her from David and gave her to someone else. And then she had 5 kids. 5 children. 5 little ones.
I could see that angering God, especially if she was already married to David.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay, I learned something new. I didn't know that.
And yeah, I know. Somehow I had missed this whole time too. Verse 9, this is around unleavened bread, right? Around the barley harvest.
Mhm.
Just found that interesting. Okay, come on, Vina. What are we talking about? Come on. What are you making us wait about? So that wraps up today's study. No, I'm just kidding, Alvina. Come on. Spit it out. Oh, the Giants. Okay. Yeah, I had that written down too. It's a little further down. Verse 17, they make David swear that he's not going to go into battle anymore because, what do they call him? The light of Israel.
Mhm.
Again, we see this foreshadowing. The king is the light of Israel. Okay.
All right. So mine read a little bit different in 19.
Okay.
It's 19 because
Talking
it
about death of Goliath's first brother.
doesn't okay. And there was war. There was again war with the Philistines at Gob, and Elihanan, the son of Jerry-Ogman, the Bethlehemite, struck down Goliath the Gittite. That's how it reads. Goliath the. So unless Goliath had another brother named Goliath,
Right.
That's what mine says too.
it
Right.
confused me. It's like we know who killed Goliath, and it wasn't that fella. Just kind of threw me off. I don't know.
Yep. In that, that is kind of interesting that it would say that. As Jericho would say, and that's why you use the King James Bible. Because you think those translations are all that in a bag of chips. Okay. Anyways.
Some verses in here that aren't in the King James. Though.
Right. But, okay, and then the next verse, though. Another battle in Gath where a man of great stature that had on every hand 6 fingers and every foot 6 toes, 4 and 20 in number. He was also born to the giant.
Mhm.
Right? So verse 22, these 4 were born to the giant in Gath. So the sons of Goliath, which I can kind of see your translation there because it calls them the sons of Goliath. How, right? Like, then we keep seeing this king line in Judah, and they say the son of David, even though it's like 10 generations down. I am of the, I'm the son of David. Anyways, when David slew Goliath, and he said, you know what, I can't carry your sword and your armor because it's not made for me. It's all big and huge and stuff. Right? It tells us that David went down to the stream bed, and what was it he did? He got to the stream.
5 smooth rocks.
5 smooth stones.
Dump.
So what was he? And now we have here, there was Goliath and his 4 sons, right? See, isn't that funny how we have just enough fingers on one hand to count that? He didn't have 5. Oops, he didn't have 5 sons.
We've talked, not here, the day before my baptism, we were actually going over that, but he had 4 other brothers as well, didn't he?
Mm-hmm.
Well, it could be. I mean, it could be something lost in translation too.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I can picture if you see your dad get killed in battle by this little scrawny. Are you going to hang out? Because it says all the Philistines fled. And I would imagine if they're giants too, their legs, their strides probably a little bit bigger than the other.
They're able to fled faster.
Right? They were able to run a little bit faster.
Yeah.
Kind of like the person being attacked by the Chihuahua. Right. Right? I'm not scared of dogs.
Till that little one comes up and starts.
Starts biting their ankle. Yeah.
And that hurts.
Get your attention.
Yep.
Yeah, he was tall. That's 1.5 feet over the top of a soccer goal.
Go for the knees.
Okay. Chapter 22.
22.
I think I read this one before, because that's for next year.
22, 1 through 51. Is that your
Yeah.
note?
And I got them high. Yeah.
Okay.
Is that, Alvina, where did that go? Is that the authentic Book of Giants, or is that something that is questionable? Matt, how many books are we missing? If we've got
A
like
lot.
80-some books right
70
now? Yeah, we're missing a whole bunch.
according to Second Ezra.
Apparently, David had wrote a song for every Sabbath of the year. 52 of them. So that's pretty cool, but where are they?
Well,
Right.
actually, if you read in Psalms, let's see, is it around 52?
Is it around 52?
Well, if you read, there's somewhere in Psalms where it says, here is finished the Psalms of David or something like that.
Oh, let me see.
At the end of the, it's a little bit more than 53, I think.
Oh, big two. I never noticed that. Big three.
Well,
52?
in Second Ezra, it tells, the amount of books he wrote. He wrote two separate, basically, categories. Like, this amount of books give to everybody. He was commanded by God, and then there was almost double that amount of books that he said just to give to the elders and the wise of your people that will understand and keep this to them. Basically, keep it to themselves, which is interesting. But it's funny that all these extra books are coming out today, and majority of Christianity, teaches that they're terrible books. Yeah, fake. They're from the devil.
I learned a lot from Esdras.
I'm sorry?
I said I've learned a lot from Esdras over the past year of going over and over and over and over.
There's a lot of information in it.
Yeah.
So the only thing
I mean,
I
it
have,
literally. Go ahead.
literally what? Is that a tortilla?
I was
What
gonna
was
say it. I was gonna say it literally explains the visions of Daniel more in depth.
Right. Yep. Yeah, I think so. There's a possibility they're in the bowels of the Vatican, probably,
Yeah.
because Constantine was one of the people that sacked the library in Alexandria.
Yeah.
I've been there, by the way. It's cool. To Alexandria, not the library. The library was already gone.
Yeah, Alexandria, Louisiana, that's not that impressive.
Right. Anyways, in 22, the only thing I had was in 17, where he says, "You have drawn me out of many waters." And I think we all have many waters.
Mhm.
We all have plenty of opportunities to drown in the world or be suffocated in the world. But just a reminder of where we need to keep our focus, on whom we need to stay focused.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, back to the concept of books or information, knowledge being kept. And I don't want to discourage anyone from reading scripture, obviously, but I've wondered, or I've thought over, that it's about the relationship and all wisdom and understanding coming from God. Even if there's been information withheld from us, it's very easy for Him to give us that knowledge if it's needed. Versus, like I've wondered, like the illiterate person can still not be able to read this and have a good relationship with the Father and have more wisdom and understanding than a Bible scholar with their relationship.
You mean as when you're in a personal spiritual relationship?
Correct.
Yeah, I believe so.
That and some in other a deeper understanding. Like you can read this without any faith and understand the story, the basic, like David killed Goliath and this happened and this, like but I'm saying someone having that constant dialogue back and forth with themselves and God, I think that they would have a better understanding than the one who has no faith and is just reading it. That's all I meant.
Right.
So they can hide all the books they want to. It really doesn't matter.
Well, it's interesting because look at all the testimonies that are coming out of the Islamic world now, where they've realized, they come to realize that they are not being told the truth, and they just pray. They pray earnestly, and then what they get is, what they're telling us. I'm not speaking their language, but says that they prayed about this, let me know if you're real, and they get this huge spiritual experience, well, who are you? They say, who are you, God? I'm Jesus that's coming to you. And they're like, no, we're told not to worship Jesus. You asked to meet the real me. And I'm presenting myself to you. And they don't, most of these people, they are told, that's a Jewish God or that's a Western God. It's a false God. So why would you, that'd be like us, it'd be like us saying all truth is, getting this message, all truth is found in Mickey Mouse or something like that. I don't know.
Right.
And that's the thing. Some of these people are even losing their heads over it. But you got the church here in the West that says, we're waiting for that day where they're going to start beheading Christians. Hey, guess what?
Hello.
Yeah, exactly. Our brothers and sisters are in prison and being beheaded.
Just because it's not happening in America.
But it's on multiple levels. I was speaking with an older man of faith that I work with, and I was telling him about some of the horrors that are going on here, and it's masked, or how like some witches will go into churches and try and do things to disrupt, or some of the rituals, and I wouldn't get into detail about it, but I'm like, this is a thing that is going on, and the church is asleep. And he's like, but everything's been done at the cross. Don't even worry about that. And I'm like, it's gonna happen tonight. Like, it's not. I understand it's paid for at the cross, but we can't just be like outside. They'll figure it out. I don't know. It's just something.
Yeah, that's one of my biggest complaints is that people are told you can find salvation in Jesus. And then they do this altar call and have hands laid on them, and that's it. Okay. Welcome. That's like, it's like, hey, you're at the Grand Canyon. Good job. You made it. And then there's no signs. There's no anything telling you anything about the Grand Canyon.
Man.
Yeah. What do you do next? How do you get to the bottom?
Yeah. Better yet, how do you get back out?
Right.
Yeah.
Get you meal first.
It's funny because everybody gets to the Grand Canyon. Hey, I made it to the bottom of the Grand Canyon. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just a big rock,
Climb out.
big hole in the ground, bunch of rocks.
Yeah.
Don't worry, it's already been paid for. Just walk through. You'll get out.
Yeah. They'll make it. All right. So that's all I had for 22. Anybody else have any general observations for 22? And I just got one big general observation for 23 too.
Blue highlighted, but man, just encouraging stuff.
23. Okay. 23 is just basically a recounting of all of David's battles leading up to. It's a recounting of his history getting to the throne.
Notice it's interesting that all these mighty men of his were ites.
I've never heard of it. It's a Chemonite. See what that's about. You think you think Eleazar was a mighty man because his dad Dodo got made fun of when he was a kid for his name?
Like a boy named Sue.
Hey Dodo, come here.
That's one of those strange things about different languages. If we're even pronouncing it correctly.
Do.
Right? Because if you break that up into 2 words, it's like our word to do.
Yeah. Yeah, maybe it's a cool name in Chemonite. Thou will make me wise. Descriptive designation to Jobesh-Beth, one of David's mighty warriors. Okay. Doesn't give a whole lot of detail about that. But.
That we've got a series on that.
What?
On becoming Christian.
Oh.
I don't know if I did a playlist for it yet or not.
It's funny that, Yeshua himself said that a wicked and adulterous generation will seek after a sign. Like, you start looking at all the different sects of Christianity, and it's like,
They're all looking for a sign.
yeah, every one of them doing all this weird stuff.
Yep. Verse 20 in chapter 23. And we've discussed this before, but the lion men of Moab are these DNA altered creatures.
Yeah. You can look at old maps of the Antarctica and it shows those lion men.
It says linemen in y'all's version? Because mine says
Lion-like men of Moab, but they were genetic aberrations.
What verse is that?
20.
And Benaiah the son of Jehoiada was a valiant man of Kabzeel, a doer of great deeds. He struck down 2 Ariels of Moab. And that got on my nerves because Ariels doesn't mean anything. There's no definition in Strong's. It just says it's an unknown. Who translated that if it doesn't mean anything? What is an Ariel?
Right. This means nothing.
Right.
What does it say in the concordance?
It says the sense of violence, a lion, young lion, pierce. So That's what they're saying for lion. That's what it
Piercing,
means.
taking your DNA.
Yeah. Oh, you know. Oh. Yes.
Right? Anybody remember this? Hold on. Oh, I blow the picture up and it shrinks or it disappears. Yeah.
My hero. Okay.
Yeah. Right? Lion Man?
Nah.
Yep.
That's a werewolf.
It's one of the, that's one of those things. Hollywood slips in little secrets all the time.
Yep. All the time. As a
Longevity.
sci-fi fan, I notice. I've always noticed. Inside, I've noticed since I was a child that a lot of this stuff they show you is real.
Yeah.
Sitting down every Sunday for science fiction theater.
Doctor Who.
Who?
I've been following.
Doctor Who.
I've been following the series, and I've mentioned it to Jonathan on. And there's a machine that controls everybody's life and decides who's gonna get the best jobs and who has to work mediocre. When it's complete, enslavement. But they named the machines Solomon, Jeroboam, or Rehoboam, and Saul. And it went from Saul to Solomon to Rehoboam, and Rehoboam is this evil. It jumped out at me that they write these things into all of Hollywood. This is
Right.
Hollywood we're talking about, and they decided those names to put into a show. God, that they dislike a lot. So it's like they're still, yeah, it's there. They're poking at him.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Well, what about the Space Force? I'm sorry.
Space Force.
Yeah, the new 6th branch of the U.S. military.
Space.
Notice though, they took the Coast Guard. Coast Guard used to be in the Department of Transportation unless we were in times of war, and then it fell under the Department of the Navy. But then, after 9/11, they went ahead and made it the 5th branch of military.
Oh, they did.
So you got Army, Air Force, Navy, Marines, Coast Guard, and then they said, "Hey, we need a 6th one, the Space Force."
You know what's weird about that is, did anyone else in the world start a Space Force, or is it just the United States?
As far as I know, it's just the U.S. right now.
Yeah. Makes you wonder where that deception's coming from. But it always has came from the United States, so.
Yeah, the world seems to follow. It seems to follow right after. They had flags for George Floyd up in Saudi Arabia.
Man, they would have beheaded him publicly. They would have.
Well,
The first time he was caught with drugs, they would have beheaded him publicly.
yeah,
Yeah, put his head on a pike.
But anyway, I just found that I have a friend that's over there. It's just interesting and different. Like the riots that were going on in Mexico and everything that we've seen over in something that went on here. Much. And like my buddy that's over there in Saudi, he said like they were hanging things up, but even the Saudis were like, what's this? The culture there is very different. It's not that they don't care, it's just a different culture. And they were like, what? Oh, okay, yeah, all right, whatever. Go back to work. And so it's just interesting that in every corner of the world that they were all moving in unison.
Yeah. But what is that? What was it? A few years ago? There was I think it was a dentist that shot and killed a lion in Africa. So he was condemned for, trophy hunting. First, they forced him to close his business and everything. But then somebody went over to that country in Africa and said, "Aren't you outraged?" Interviewing locals, "Aren't you outraged that they killed this lion?" They're like, "Oh, bring them back, man! Kill a bunch more. We can get rid of them. Those things eat our cattle."
Yep. And a lot of times they turn into man eaters and come into their villages and eat them.
Just funny stuff.
Poor Humphrey.
And then they were, what was it? They were like, lion? Yeah, good. Bring them back. I don't know.
Well, it's like
Yeah.
trophy hunting with elephants too. People don't get it, but the governments over there actually killed like millions of elephants at one time because they thought that they were overgrazing the land and all this. So they just started killing like millions of them.
Like buffalo.
And it ended up actually having a negative effect on the land. So they just let them start coming back. But like, there's like, I remember seeing the numbers. There's so many elephant over there, like you would never be able to kill them all. But yet, someone's made a documentary to make it seem like people are poaching them to get their tusks and they're going extinct.
Well, yeah. Well, the thing is, though, too, that way most of those nations have switched it up now. You've got some wealthy dude from Germany or the U.S. or Japan that will literally spend 7 digits
Mm-hmm.
of money to go hunt an elephant. And that employs all these people that work at the lodge where they're staying. It employs all the guides. It pays for all the game wardens, the people, the anti-poaching units that are armed with rifles that are out there camping all the time to protect the elephants or rhinos or whatever other animals. And then the animals they kill, all they get is like all the hunter gets is sometimes the skin and then sometimes the head, right, for a trophy. All that meat goes to the locals.
Yeah.
They're the people that were raised eating that stuff. Is it clean? No. Are they saved? I don't know. Hopefully they will come to a point where they are. Can't stop eating elephant.
I do find it senseless that some people go over there to hunt giraffe. Because it's not something eaten. Why are you gonna shoot a giraffe, bro? Of course, I've never been charged by one either.
Been head snapped by one of them. Those things look mean, man.
I was having this talk with Jimmy the other day when he was out here about trophies, and I've never personally mounted an animal, on the wall or anything, but it almost kind of makes you think like it's an idol, because you're putting this animal's head on your wall. I don't know.
Yeah, stuff's weird to me too.
Well, let me tell you what happened to my dad's buffalo head trophy. It's in the storage room and the rats are in it. And they got all the sawdust out of him and his head is ruined. So I'm thinking I'm just going to break off the horns and just keep those. Because those could come in handy.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
But I'm just so mad. I looked at that and I went, anyway, it's okay. It's just some junk, so. But yeah, my daddy had tons of those. And we had lots of heads on our walls and antlers. And antlers are very good hat hangers. That's what I use mine for. But yeah, we used to have full mount bear and a full mount bighorn sheep that went to, they were donated.
They're cool. Don't get me wrong. Sometimes I just wonder about it,
Yeah. Yeah. I never thought about it till you mentioned it. I mean, yeah.
I think it makes your accomplishments the idol. It's not necessarily like the head is the idol itself, but it plants the seed of like self, like VA for me.
Well, and I think about that, in the Torah where it says not to carve yourself any likeness of an animal or anything in heaven above or on earth. And it's like, well, I guess it doesn't mention not to taxidermy a dead animal, but it tells you not to carve it into wood or stone. So I don't know.
Yeah, you're not carving it, you're just stuffing it. I still have the hide, and it's in good shape. So it was made into a really nice rug. So I still have that. So.
There's
And he made an ashtray out of the hooves. So one of those too.
there's a flip side to all of it too, because like if you go into India and Thailand and Indonesia, where they use elephant tractors, or as lumber equipment, as lumber movers, these people tend this elephant, the elephant's whole life. And then when the elephant dies, they would take the tusks and sell the ivory and buy a new elephant. Well, they can't do that now because there's an international ban on ivory trade. So, it's real good to be a social justice warrior and pat yourself on the back all the time for all this stuff. But there's a flip side to every coin. There's a second edge to the sword. Everywhere. Speaking of which, Ren, if you notice in Luke 22, is when the 70 come back, right? Is this when the 70 come back? No, but he's telling them. He's asking about when he sent them out in verse 35. When I sent you without purse and scrip and shoes, lacked you anything? And they said nothing. But then he said unto them, But now, he that hath a purse, let him take it, and likewise his scrip, and he that hath no sword, let him sell his garment and buy one. So in this, we're seeing, is he asking them if he got a purse now? Buy a sword. But after he asks them all this, they say, we have 2 swords among the 12. They already have 2. And he says, that's enough. So there's a lot there. But we're not quite there yet.
Yeah.
Almost.
Most of his disciples were pretty well disciplined and trained. I'm not saying he was preaching violence of any sort. Quite the opposite.
Either Peter, go ahead.
No, it was for Peter to be able to aim and take off an ear.
Right. Either he was totally incompetent and missed, or that was really skillful.
Yeah. My dogs are freaking out.
What? Are you one of them pit bull hunters?
I'm going to buy a sword right now. Somebody tries to hunt my buddies.
Think about that too. Think about, everybody always says, oh, the rifle is the modern day sword. Okay, take off your coat and sell it and go buy a rifle. There's a little bit of a price disparity there. And it would be the same way with the sword. Also, especially since he's surrounded with what? Fishermen and tax collectors and whoever else he had around him.
I don't know. I guess it depends on the coat, because I've seen some pretty ridiculously expensive coats. It's gonna be a really nice coat to buy a sword. I saw something, if they made a sword now, like they made for royalty in England, right? Nice, good two-handed, two-edged sword. This was 20 years ago, 25 years ago. At that time, it would have cost about $45,000.
You couldn't even sell your Barney leather for that much. You could get $1,000 for it, maybe.
Today you can get a sword for under $100 at Shields.
I get Scott's samurai sword that he got at the smoke shop.
Yeah, there you go.
I tell you a funny story. When I was leaving for my baptism up there in Tennessee, I was in a room talking with my friend, and he had some swords in there. He was asking me, he wanted to give me something, and so jokingly, I was like, "Well, what do you think they'll let me on the plane with one of them samurai swords?" And so anyway, before he left, he said, "I'm giving you a sword, double-edged."
Right on.
Yeah,
I thought that was cool.
and way more cutting.
Right.
All right, let's let these people get back to resting. And thank you very much for reading today, Lynn and Gwen and Landon and Matt.
Yeah.
Thank you, everybody, for showing up. Allie and GR and Elizabeth and Alvina and Ren and all y'all. Look at that. Golly, we scrolled so much, everybody disappeared. Yeah. I noticed that there's a few people that talked. Sky. Howdy, Sky. Who else do we have? There was someone.
GR. Did you say GR? And
There's Terry. Was it Terry? I can't remember. Yeah, there's Terry. Hi, Terry. And Matt. Anyways, welcome. We will be back again in 2 days' time in the evening. At least I will be. Hopefully, you guys will read also. Or someone else. If you want to read with us, email me and let me know. Or message me down below the video. We'll hook you up. So, love you all. Thank you very much. We will talk to you very soon. Enjoy your day. Bye.
bye.
Bye.